This story was narrated by VidCrew Media. Please show your support by like and subscribe. Thank you. Gabe was already in the office when Adonis stormed in and picked up the phone. The tension in the room was evident. One person was missing, and that was Luke. I looked at Gabe, who nodded. I guess that meant Luke was coming. What the fuck do you want? Adonis growled. Bradley's sickening laugh was heard. Adonis gripped the phone tighter while both Evan and Gabe clenched their fists. God, his laugh was awful. Is that any way to greet me, old friend? Bradley's voice sent shivers down my spine. Luke walked in at that very moment and immediately went stiff. This novel will be daily updated. Sophia held his hand for support while Luke stood there. Poor Luke. Hearing his brother's voice after years must be a shock for him. Don't fucking mess with me. What do you want? Adonis's voice was getting louder. I was stood away from Adonis, but Evan decided that wasn't on. He pushed me forward, so I bumped into Adonis. Throwing a glare to Evan, I turned back to face my angry mate. Adonis took my hand and held onto it for dear life. Still not the most patient person, are we? I thought having a mate would change. That Bradley tutted in the phone. Adonis growled and pulled me closer to him. This Bradley guy knew exactly what to say to get on Adonis's nerves, and mine too. Everyone must be there. Gabe, Evan, and even my little bro Luke. This is a warning. You played your game all those years ago. Now I'm playing mine. Watch. You're back because you'll never see me coming, Bradley warned. All the men tensed up and looked at each other. Is that a threat? Adonis spat. No, it's a promise, Bradley replied. Oh, how could I forget? I never said hi to Her Majesty. Did you like your gift? It was my welcome gift to you? Dimitri, I hope you're ready to give up your mate. Bradley laughed. Adonis couldn't handle it. His body was shaking, and his eyes switched to pitch black in seconds. His lichen had taken over. His loud growl caused objects to shake and fall. No, he yelled, throwing the phone and narrowly missing Gabe. Before anyone could do anything, Adonis turned and jumped out the window. Fuck, Arya, Evan yelled, pulling me away just in time. Glass went everywhere as Adonis smashed through it and landed safely outside. His growl was heard, loud and clear, as he ran off. For a few moments everyone stood there catching their breath and processing what just happened. I had an awful feeling after hearing this bastard speak. He really had no heart and was clearly messed up. This novel will be daily updated. That made him even more dangerous because no one knew what he was even capable of. Gabe was the first one to speak. Right? We need to get this mess cleaned up. Nia, you and Lexi go and find someone to clean this up. The rest of us, we need to talk. I can see why Adonis chose Gabe to be his second in command. Gabe knew exactly what to do. We left the study and walked toward the second study. My lichen was whimpering, begging me to go and find Adonis, because she could feel his lichen's pain. As much as I wanted to go, I had to talk to the others. Plus, Adonis needed this time alone. I entered the study and sat down. Everyone looked solemn. What do you think he'll do? I asked. Evan sighed. I have no idea. Bradley is unpredictable and dangerous. His warning is still replaying in my mind. He wants you. He wants to hurt Adonis, just like Adonis hurt him, but in the worst way possible. What better way than to take his mate from him? Luke stared right at me. An uneasy feeling settled in my stomach as I shook my head. He can try all he wants, but he won't even lay a finger on me. I won't let him. None of us will. You're too important to Adonis and everyone here. What we need to do is stay cautious at all times. Any important information has to be between us and only us. It won't surprise me if Bradley has a mole giving him information, Gabe explained. Now what? Evan asked. Well, I think I am going to train. I want to make sure the soldiers are ready for an attack any day. Luke stood up, with Sophia by his side. Plus, this is a good distraction. Hearing Bradley's voice, well, it got to me. Luke sighed. I wouldn't expect anything different. Man, take care. Gabe patted Luke on the back. When Luke and Sophia left, Nia and Lexi walked in. So, Dimitri. Evan looked at me. I think he needs this time alone. He's been going through a lot, I replied. You know, this is the first time in a long time that he just left. Before, he just had to run off so his lichen didn't take over. Since you came, he never needed to. Because you kept him grounded. But I guess hearing that your old friend wants to hurt your mate would make anyone lose control, Gabe chipped in. Dimitri takes really long runs, Evan said, and I'll be waiting for him when he comes back. I know you guys care for him. I can see it in your eyes, but I know he needs this time to think, to gather his thoughts. He needs his space, and I intend to give it to him. I sighed. You're the best thing that has happened to this kingdom. You don't even realize that what you just said now proves you have a much deeper connection to Dimitri than you think. His feelings mean so much to you, and I respect that. Gabe smiled. Yeah, me too. Especially since having you here means Lamidi Vesh have to be locked up all the time, Evan replied. We have work to do, especially since Dimitri isn't here. Let's go. I want to make sure patrols are doubled. Gabe looked at Evan. Evan looked at Nia and pouted. Newly mated and already busy. You'll live. Nia smiled and patted Evan on the shoulder. Gabe just rolled his eyes and dragged Evan away. Now it was just me, Nia, and Lexi left. Lexi sat down next to me and said, how do you stay so confident? Because I believe in Adonis. I shrugged. We believe in you. Nia smiled. I don't want our men to feel like they can't bring us into any fight. This novel will be daily updated. We are just as strong as them, so we've got to prove it to them. Hard times are arriving. We need to be there every step of the way for our mates. Give them love and support because that is what will drive them to defeat this son of a bitch. I looked at both girls, who nodded. Words of wisdom from the queen herself. Nia winked. I rolled my eyes but smiled. The girls left soon after, deciding to go and find their mates. Adonis wasn't back yet. I couldn't sense him. My lichen was pissed at me for not going after Adonis, but I didn't care. Sighing, I stood up and walked out of Adonis's study and headed to my room. It looked like it would be a long night for me. As soon as I entered the room, I had flashbacks of what was going to happen before that bastard decided to ring. Such bad timing. Now what? Should I have gone after him? No, he needs this time alone. My mind drifted to Bradley. That man was fucking insane. He blamed Adonis for everything, so it was no surprise to me that he'd threaten me. I lay on the bed and turned on the TV, flicking aimlessly through the channels. Shaking my head, I turned my attention to the TV and started. 6 episodes later, there was still no sign of Adonis. Now I was beginning to get pissed off. Where the hell was he? If he was planning on staying out for such a long time, then he needed to tell someone. My body wouldn't allow me to sleep. Not until I knew that Adonis was back and he was safe. A gush of wind got my attention, and I turned to see Adonis failing at trying to sneak in. Where the fuck were you? I said, causing Adonis to jump. You're still awake? He asked, shocked. No, I'm sleep talking. I rolled my eyes. I didn't think you'd be awake. Adonis scratched the back of his neck. Where did you go? I tried again. Adonis sighed and sat down on the bed. I don't know. I just ran. Hearing that bastard say those words made me want to destroy everything. Hey, you don't have to explain why you ran. I think it was pretty obvious. I was worried because you were gone for so long, I replied. You know, having someone other than Gabe and Evan care about me is something I never thought I would experience. Adonis smiled sadly. Adonis? I got up and sat on his lap so I was straddling him. This whole mate thing, it terrified me, and it still does. These feelings are so strong because they are raw. I care for you, and I worry for you. I can't help it. You'll always have me worrying about you, even though you may not always want it. I smiled. This mate thing is pretty strange, isn't it? I never thought I'd have a mate sitting right here on my lap. When you came into my life so suddenly, I didn't know what to do. So, I let me possessive lichen feelings take over. Probably wasn't the best thing. Adonis smiled sheepishly. Hey, we are still learning. It hasn't been that long since we found out we were mates, I replied. I kissed his cheek, not his tempting lips. No. Because I can't live without you either, I admitted. In a flash, Adonis lifted me up and threw me on the bed. God, how lucky am I to have you as my maid and queen? He groaned. Extremely lucky, obviously. You should be so thankful that I am so smart. This novel will be daily updated, I exaggerated, but trailed off when Adonis crawled up to meet me, and a gorgeous body, sinful lips. Adonis's voice got deeper. I think it's time to finish what we started. He chuckled. I didn't have time to protest as he captured my lips and slipped his hand down my underwear. Oh God, I had a feeling this was going to be a long night. It had been another long week and a half since Bradley called, and it was stressful. Nothing had happened yet, which just made things worse. Luke was agitated and took his anger out on Sophia, who came crying to me. She said it was getting harder to live with Luke when he snapped and shouted at her all the time. I had to explain to her that his feelings toward his brother were clouding his ability to think properly. Luke loved Sophia. We all knew that. Sophia decided she wanted to go back to our pack and spend some time with her family. I disagreed with her because I knew Luke really needed her. But Sophia was not budging, so I told her to let Luke know before going. She promised me that she would, but the very next day, Luke rushed in with a letter from Sophia explaining that she had gone back. Luke was distraught. He blamed himself. Sophia didn't help as she wasn't answering his calls. I had to step in and call her so Luke could speak. He told her he was so sorry and that he'd come and pick her up. Although Sophia had sorted things out with Luke, she still wanted to stay back for a few more days. Luke agreed to keep her happy, so Sophia was due back in 5 days. Luke had been working hard with the wolves and with the men. All 4 men had come up with lots of plans for any situation. Adonis refused to take any chances at all. There were several new panic rooms installed throughout the palace, and Adonis implanted new safety procedures. It was a week ago now that I spotted Adonis in his study alone. This novel will be daily updated at 1 week ago. Nothing special had happened today. Adonis and I had a 2-hour training session, and as soon as it was over, he went to his study. It had been the same routine now. Adonis spent most of his time in his study. It was like he didn't want to share his worries with me. I knew he was anxious. He didn't want to mess up, and he wanted to make sure that bastard paid for his actions. After I had showered, I decided to go and meet Mia. On the way, I passed Adonis's study. I expected to see all the men in there, but when I peered in, only Adonis was sat there. He held a photograph in his hand and was looking at it sadly. Whose photograph was it? Curiosity got the best of me as I entered Adonis's study. Almost immediately his gaze connected with mine, and he put the picture down. I was about to ask you the same thing. Whose photo is that? I replied. Adonis tensed, and I knew he was about to dismiss it, so I cut him off. Answer truthfully. Don't even think about lying to me. Adonis sighed and motioned for me to come closer. My family, Mum, Dad, and my siblings. You miss them, I guessed. Adonis nodded. I think this whole situation makes me miss them more. Father would have known exactly what to do. Mother would have kept everything in order, and my brother would have been there to make me laugh. My sister, she would just provide her support. I sat on his lap and held his face in my hands. Hide that from me. Yeah, I guess I am not used to sharing everything that this is all still new to me. Adonis chuckled. Well, it's a good thing we're stuck with each other. We have many years to learn. I smiled. Adonis nodded and laughed. So, tell me about your family. Where are they now? I asked. You know, I had a normal childhood. I had no idea about being the king or even being a prince. Mother wanted us 3 to have a normal childhood, and she succeeded with that. It was only when I got older did I realize what was expected of me. Training, started, and it was vigorous and long. My siblings, especially my brother, used to hate it. Me training meant I didn't get to spend as much time as I wanted with them. Mother and father, on the other hand, just wanted me to complete my training so they could leave. As soon as father deemed me fit to be king, he passed the title down to me and left with mother. I don't blame them. Being a king or a queen is a tough job. Unfortunately, I have no idea where they are. But my siblings, I miss them a lot. Damien, my brother, lives in England now. He left as soon as I turned king. He has always said that he wanted nothing to do with royalty. My little sister Riley, the youngest of us, she is a spitfire. She always rebelled against father and never liked the rules and what was expected of her. As a princess, Riley was very opinionated and her voice would be heard. It was only 4 days before I was crowned king that she met her mate, a human. Riley took that as her chance to escape. She left with her mate the day after I was crowned to live with him. I haven't heard from her since, nor Damien. Both my siblings are living their lives on their own terms, without a worry in the world, Adonis explained. Hearing all that was a shock to me. Adonis's family had always been a mystery since it was only him who remained at the palace. Looking at him, I could tell how upset he was that his family wasn't here. But I could also see happiness. Adonis loved his siblings, but valued their happiness above his own. I kissed Adonis softly on the lips. "You'll always have me." Adonis smiled and kissed me back. "I know. I can't seem to get rid of you." I rolled my eyes. Whatever. An idea popped into my head, and I asked, "Hey, why don't you ring your siblings and ask them to come here?" Adonis looked unsure. "I don't want to ruin their lives by asking them." "Adonis, they won't be moving back for good. It would just be a visit. Plus, they're your siblings. They won't say no." I tried to connive him. Adonis still looked unsure. "No, leave it. I don't want to disturb them. They are living their lives." I was about to argue, but Adonis shook his head. So I closed my mouth. "I'll be back. I just need to check on Luke." "Will you stay here and keep me company?" Adonis asked. I nodded. "This novel will be daily updated." Of course. "You go and check on Luke. I'll be on my phone anyway. This novel will be daily updated." Adonis kissed my forehead before lifting me and placing me on his chair. As soon as he walked out, I glanced at the photograph of his family. It was time someone did something for Adonis, and that someone was me. Present right now. Everyone was sitting in Adonis's study. I swear his study should be our second home since we are always in here. No surprise that I was sitting on Adonis's lap as he was discussing issues with the others. I glanced at Niva, who faked Devon. Same girl, same. Lexi was on her phone, so she didn't see us. Don't get me wrong, we cared about these issues, but hearing about the same issues every single day was getting tiring. Adonis was talking about security, increasing guards yet again, increasing patrols again. He believed a slip-up would be when Bradley attacked, but he didn't want to give him that opportunity. I was about to ask for a 5-minute break when Adonis tensed. Oh, I quickly stood up as Adonis looked at me with an accusatory gaze, but I just shrugged my shoulders. The door opened and in walked the carbon copy of Adonis, although his hair was a little lighter and his eyes shone with mischief. "Brother, Damien." Gray made his presence known. Adonis looked at his younger brother in shock, but before he could even say anything, behind Damien, a woman entered. She was gorgeous, inheriting her mother's blue eyes. "No hug?" Damien asked. Riley rolled her eyes and made her way over to Adonis. "Thank your mate. She called us here." Suddenly lots of pairs of eyes looked at me. The only pair of eyes I was focused on was Adonis's. He looked at me with happiness, and that warmed me. I knew I had done the right thing. "It is so good to see you both. How have you been?" Adonis asked, pulling a seat for his sister. She sat down with a huff. whereas Damien still had that infectious grin. Hey, we don't want to talk about us. We want to talk about the fact that our big bro finally has a mate. He winked at me, making me laugh. Adonis shook his head. Some things never change. Well, I have a son now, Riley said. A son? When? How? Adonis spluttered. When? About 3 months ago now. His name is Michael. I don't think I need to explain the biology behind it, Adonis. It isn't like you haven't had any practice. Riley rolled her eyes. My eyes widened with shock, while Nia and the others laughed. But why didn't you call earlier? It wasn't hard to miss the hurt in Adonis's voice. Riley sighed. You know why? If I said I was pregnant, the stupid council would demand me back here and make my son be the next king. I don't want that. The mention of the council had everyone growling. Even Damien's grin was replaced with a sour look. It seemed the council wasn't very favorable among the Grey siblings. A bunch of old pricks who have sticks up their asses, Damien growled. We're here to help you in your fight, in whatever way you need us. Plus, a family reunion was long overdue, Damien said, looking at me. Thank you both. Having you here means so much to me. Adonis smiled at his siblings. Damien turned his gaze on me. So, you're the one who made my brother wait for so long. Adonis. Gross, newly mated lichens are the worst. Riley pretended to gag, but I could see her genuine happiness shining in her eyes. You were no better. Thank God you left, so we didn't have to witness it, Damien teased Riley. Shut up. Riley poked her tongue out. Adonis laughed at his siblings. Seeing him this happy and not having to worry about Bradley was amazing. He needed this. Hey, I wanna see what you've done with the place. The royal tour, please, Damien asked. As the king, I am pretty busy, but I have some free time for you, Adonis teased. Wow, I am so honored. Damien rolled his eyes. You just want to see what Adonis has done to your bedroom, right? Riley looked at her. Brother. This novel will be daily updated. Stop exposing me, Damien complained. Come on, you two. I'll show you how I've made this place much better. Adonis stood up. None of us joined the three siblings as they left the study, laughing and joking. It was time for these three to have some quality time together. Adonis came back with his siblings in a much better mood. Riley left, saying she needed to go and see her son. She promised that she would introduce us to little Michael. Damien was more interested in how Adonis works. He sat on a chair and questioned Gabe and Evan. How many tables has he broke? Evan groaned. Too many to count. Too many. Damien laughed. Some things never change, do they? Even after all these years, you still haven't broken out of that bad habit. Old habits die hard. Adonis shrugged. Damien's reply was cut off by the phone ringing. Everyone suddenly tensed. The last time someone rang this phone, it was to warn us. Adonis clenched his jaw and picked up the phone, placing it on speaker. King Dimitri, an unknown voice said. Well, it was unknown to me, but the tense expressions on the men's faces told me they knew exactly who it was. Councilman Harrison. To what do I owe this pleasure? This novel will be daily updated, Adonis gritted out. I noticed that Damien was also tense, glaring at the phone like it was his worst enemy. Well, it has come to our attention that there have been 2 deaths in the past month, and that they have been caused by someone who was once close to you, this councilman said. Yes, I am well aware. Have you called to tell me any useful information? Adonis asked. Not exactly. I have called to warn you that all of us have decided that if you slip up once more, meaning if you cannot catch this murderer in the next week, then we will remove you from the throne. Councilman Harrison sounded smug. And who would replace my brother? Me. Because I have made my intention very clear. Before Councilman Harrison, I have 0 intentions of being King. Damien made his presence known. Ah, Prince Damien, you finally have returned. It will soon The time to step up and take over your brother. This councilman needed a slap. This time I growled and snatched the phone. Listen here, you piece of shit. First you try and get my mate to take another female as his mate. Now you threaten to remove him from the throne. Let me tell you something. Adonis is king, not you, and so your words mean absolutely nothing. You've just wasted our time. That should have been spent trying to find this criminal. If I find out that you are purposely trying to stall us or cause Adonis to fail, then I will show you why I am queen. I didn't give him a chance to say anything as I threw the phone against the wall. Both my lichen and I felt satisfied watching it smash into little pieces. Another phone smashed. This is why you two are perfect for each other, Evan. Grown. Wow, you really are perfect for my brother. Damien smiled at me. Adonis looked at me in awe before picking me up and throwing me over his shoulder. Adonis, put me down, you big brute. I struggled. Everyone off my floor. Now, Adonis yelled. He made his way to our bedroom before placing me on the bed. Do you know how fucking sexy that was? Adonis groaned. I know. Words failed me as I looked at the lustful gaze of Adonis. You're a little spitfire. Adonis chuckled. I'm not little. I pouted. Adonis captured my lips, causing me to moan. You've got me all worked up. Adonis placed my hand on his growing bulge. Tingles shot straight to my core. Adonis smirked. I think someone else is worked up. He whispered in my ear. I could fix that. I swallowed the lump in my throat before replying. You sure? I was tempting the beast, but I found myself enjoying it. Adonis growled and laid me down, ripping my underwear off. You're a little minx. Plus, it's been a while since I've had a taste. He didn't even waste a second before plunging his tongue into my folds. Shit. I clutched the bedsheets as Adonis attacked my core. His skilled tongue knew exactly what to do, and it wasn't long before I was moaning and begging for my release. What do you want? Adonis teased. Adonis, I was not in the mood. I can't hear you, little one. Adonis smirked against my core. I want you to make me cum happy. I growled. Adonis's answer was giving me what I so desired. He lapped up all my juices before leaving my core alone. He smirked. Damn him. He had me right where he wanted me. Time for the main show. He winked at me. I licked my lips as Adonis undressed slowly. Fuck, he was doing this on purpose. This novel will be daily updated. Hurry up before I tear those clothes off myself, I growled. He chuckled. Impatient? I rolled my eyes. Remind me next time to undress slowly when you're turned on. Then you'll see what I mean. Adonis opened his mouth to reply, but a loud growl made us both freeze. I looked at Adonis, who looked tense. Who the fuck growled? Oh man, why am I always the one to get you? Evan's familiar voice complained my leggings back on. Something wasn't right. Both Adonis and I sensed this, which is why we didn't tease Evan. Guys, you better come quick. It isn't good. Evan's solemn voice made my blood run cold. Adonis gripped my hand as we rushed out to see what the hell was going on. I knew something was wrong. Gabe and Evan looked incredibly tense while Lexi and Nia tried to comfort them by standing close to them and holding their hands. Okay, something was seriously wrong to get everyone worked up. What the fuck is going on? And who growled? Adonis looked at his best friends. Gabe sighed and motioned for us to follow him. Yet again we ended up in Adonis's study. Gabe picked up the phone and dialed a number. He left it on speaker and waited. Both Adonis and I looked at each other in confusion, but that soon left when we heard the familiar voice of Bradley. Adonis, you decided not to answer. Big mistake, friend. I have someone very special here. Sophia Butler. Name ring any bells? I think she's my little brother's mate. A pretty little thing too. Now, ring me back in 30 minutes or she's dead. Tick-tock, old friend. Oh fuck no. This bastard took Sophia, how fucking dare he? I'll skin him alive. Adonis was tense, gripping onto my hand like it was his only support. That growl was Luke. I sighed. It made sense. Gabe nodded sadly. He came with me when I saw a voicemail on your phone. Needless to say, he lost control and took off. Damien has gone after him, just to make sure he doesn't harm anyone. How long? Adonis asked. I think we have 10 minutes left, Gabe replied. Fuck. Adonis ran his hands through his hair. We've got this. I squeezed his hand. 27. Adonis nodded and picked up the phone. He rang back the number that Bradley dialed on, and it didn't take long for this smug bastard to answer. The man himself. Cutting it. Fine, Adonis, Bradley answered. Adonis growled. I rang you before your time limit. Don't you dare harm Sophia. Protective, are we? What does your mate have to say about that? Bradley asked. If you even touch a hair on her head, I'll skin you alive. You bastard, I spat. Oh, feisty, are we? Clearly you care for this. Liken a lot. Bradley chuckled. What the fuck do you want? Adonis was having a hard time controlling himself. I'll be at your territory very shortly. I will walk in, and no one will harm me because if they do, I'll snap Sophia's neck so quickly that you won't be able to save her, Bradley warned. This novel will be daily updated. At knowing this guy, he would follow through on his promise. I knew that, and Adonis did too, which is why he released a deep breath and said, fine, no one will harm you. Good. I guess I'll be seeing you shortly, old friend. Remember, anyone even attempts to harm me, she'll be dead, Bradley said before hanging up. I looked at Adonis, who looked at me with anger in his eyes. This fucker will be dead before a week is up. It is time for him to meet his end. I nodded. We are all with you. Adonis looked at Gabe and Evan. Tell the guards to stand down. When Sophia, I'll get in contact with Damien. Luke needs to be here, Gabe said. Adonis nodded. Yes, but he also needs to be restrained. Have some guards as backup. I don't want him to do anything stupid that could harm himself or Sophia. A ringtone broke us all out of our own thoughts. It was my phone. Sighing, I answered, seeing Carter's name pop up. Smiley. Carter didn't even wait for me to say hello. Carter, we know Sophia's been taken. I guess that was why Carter rang. Yes. God, I am so sorry. We had more guards, but these guys are lichens. It was hard. Carter seemed frustrated with himself. Hey, you can't be blaming yourself. Bradley would have purposely targeted the pack when it was at its weakest in terms of defense and security. The main thing is that everyone else is safe, I replied. Yes, everyone else is safe. The bastard knew what he wanted, and he got it, Carter growled. Sophia will be back in the arms of her mate soon enough, I reassured Carter. I know you all will do whatever is necessary, but we are coming. Me and a few others. Hunter will stay here. But I need to make sure Sophia is safe, Carter said. I know you all will do whatever is necessary, but we are coming. Me and a few others. Hunter will stay here. But I need to make sure Sophia is safe, Carter said. I was about to argue, saying it was dangerous, but Adonis put a hand on my shoulder and shook his head. Sighing, I answered, fine, please stay safe. I will. You stay safe too. Carter ended the call. Little one, you need to let him come. His wolf feels responsible for Sophia's situation. He needs reassurance that she is safe. Don't forget he is an alpha as well as a close friend to Sophia and you, Adonis explained. 71. I nodded sadly. No, I just don't want him hurt. 119. He won't be. Carter is a strong person. Adonis kissed me on the forehead. He held my hand as we walked downstairs. Now it's time to meet the devil. We headed outside, with our friends close behind us. Tension hung heavy in the air as everyone impatiently waited for Bradley to turn up. Luke came out from the forest, his clothes torn. Damien followed, all signs of playfulness gone. Gabe, who had gone to find Luke, also stepped out beside Damien. Evan held out a pair of clothes for Luke, who grabbed them and put them on. "I'll kill him. I swear to God," Luke growled. "We know you want to, but you have to control yourself. He is using Sophia as leverage," Adonis reminded Luke. "What a sick move, taking the mate of your own brother for leverage," Damien scoffed. "This guy has no heart." Gabe shook his head. An unknown scent filled my nose. It could only be one person. Bradley. Sure enough, he walked out in the clearing with Sophia over his shoulder. She was clearly drugged and knocked out. Luke growled and moved forward. "This novel will be daily updated at, but..." Damien stopped him. "I wouldn't do that if I was you, little bro. Don't want to hand you your dead mate," Bradley taunted. Bradley looked very similar to Luke, the main difference being the claw marks on his face. He caught me staring and smirked. "You must be Arya. Don't say her name, you fucking bastard," Adonis spat. Bradley held his hands up in mock surrender, although the smirk never left his face. "Touchy, are we? Shame that you just found your mate because you're going to lose her very soon." His words sounded like a promise, not a warning. "How did you get here so fast?" I asked. "Lycans run very fast. Plus, I had a plan." Bradley looked pleased with himself. Bradley's gaze found Damien, who was standing next to me. "Wow, a royal family reunion." His sarcasm was evident. "Where's your sister? Inside, I presume?" Bradley asked. Damien growled, causing Bradley to chuckle. "Good thing he is here because someone needs to take over the throne. Once I kill your mate, Adonis, you will no longer be capable of ruling." Bradley just laughed. This man was crazy. His sick ideas terrified me, but I refused to let it show. Any signs of weakness would be an easy target for this man. I had to remain calm and keep Adonis calm too. That was not going to be an easy task. "If you think I will let your filthy hands touch Arya, then you are sorely mistaken. This novel will be daily updated. I will tear them from your body before you get a chance," Damien growled. Bradley just smirked. How could I forget? The prince who wants nothing to do with the royal family, but you just can't get rid of your royal title. How sad, two brothers that have so much power but don't even want it. That's why I'm here. It is only fair that someone who wants the power gets it. Shut your mouth. There is no one as power hungry as you, and that is why you will never get what you want. Too much of anything is bad, but you will realize that too late." Bradley scoffed. "As much fun as this has been, it is time for me to leave. Remember, one scratch on me, I'll rip her head off." He smirked, hoisting Sophia higher on his shoulder. "Fucking prick, he needed to die. See you soon, your majesty. I will so enjoy hearing your screams." Bradley chuckled at me. Both Adonis and Damien let out a loud growl and stepped forward. I reached out and grabbed them both, shaking my head. "Don't. This is exactly what he wants. See you soon, old friend. It'll be a fight to the death," Bradley told Adonis. We watched as Bradley walked away with Sophia. My Lycan was upset, as was I. Leaving Sophia in the clutches of that bastard wasn't easy, but we had no choice. When they were out of sight, Adonis stormed inside, chucking things across the room. He needed to let out his anger, so I let him. This novel will be daily updated. Evan and Gabe looked at me, but I just shook my head. Damien looked solemn. I didn't realize how much Adonis had to deal with. I smiled sadly. "Your brother has to deal with much more. Now he has a maid and his family back, but before, I don't know how he managed it." Damien nodded in agreement before walking over to his brother and pulling him away. "Adonis, calm down. Now we must think of a plan. We can't waste any more time." Adonis took deep breaths as his gaze locked onto me. He held his hand out, which I gladly took. Kissing the top of my head, he replied, "You're right. We have to get Sophia back." We all made our way to the study. Luke looked distraught, so I stayed back too. Talk to him. You better not be blaming yourself, I warned. My behavior pushed her into the arms of my brother. Luke sighed. No, you didn't do anything. The stress got to you. That's okay. I'd be more worried if it didn't. Sophia's kidnapping was done by Bradley and is his fault, not yours. You focus on getting her back, not blaming yourself. That is more important, I reminded him. Luke smiled. Every day you prove why you are the perfect person to be queen. I bet you don't even realize it. We reached Adonis's study and sat down, trying to think of an idea. Evan suggested we ambush him, but Adonis refused, saying that it was too predictable and Bradley would be expecting that. Plus, we had no idea where he was hiding. No one could go and look, just in case he harmed Sophia. It was a mess. Gabe mentioned about bribing him with power and then capturing him. Damien said he wanted power, but right now his main goal was to kill me. So that wouldn't work either. Bradley had us in a fix. Anything we wanted to do, we couldn't. 1, in case he harmed Sophia, and 2, he would be expecting it. He knew these men very well. Our thoughts were interrupted by the phone ringing. Adonis sighed and answered. Hello. Why do you sound so upset? Have you finally come to terms with losing your mate? Bradley chuckled. Suddenly everyone was sat upright, looking at each other in worry and confusion. Adonis growled. What the fuck do you want? I'll keep it short and simple. The queen for Sophia, Bradley said, hanging up. No. Adonis couldn't control his temper, wiping everything off his desk in one swipe and breathing heavily. Adonis, calm down. I attempted to calm him down. There is no way I'll telling you gu I v gel supuna vac another way. Adonis buried his face in my neck. Exactly, you're the queen. How can we just let you go? Evan clenched his fists. I told that bastard that I would rip his hands before he had a chance to even touch you. Damien cracked his knuckles. I want my mate back badly, but not at the expense of losing you. This novel will be daily updated. Sophia would never forgive me, and I could never forgive myself. We will find another way, Luke said. Hearing everyone say those words warmed my heart, but I wasn't stupid. I knew that there was no other way. You all are amazing, but there isn't another way. If there was, then we would have started planning. Bradley has us all stumped. I sighed. I faced Adonis. I know that you will come and save me because I believe in you, but you have to believe in yourself too. Adonis growled. Why are you talking like you are going to give yourself up? Because I am, I stated. Like hell you are. I won't let you out of my sight, Adonis yelled. Adonis. I tried to reason with him, but he wasn't listening. You're my mate? I am not letting you leave, he insisted. Now my anger was building up. Adonis, think of the bigger picture here. By giving Bradley what he wants, we can bring him down. He will get too cocky. It is a perfect way. By risking your life. I don't think so, Adonis refused. Adonis, it is my duty as queen to protect everyone. I can't let Bradley kill another innocent person. You have to believe in me. I know what I am doing. I sighed. I just found you. How can I let you go? Adonis's voice broke. I am not going forever. You will find me. Plus, I'm not going to make it easy for Bradley. It will give you time to find me. I smiled. I can't. I will lock you up, but I will not let you give yourself up. Adonis shook his head. Fuck's sake. I thought he had finally agreed. Adonis, listen to yourself. You're being selfish. My anger was getting the better of me. I don't care. I am selfish. Adonis seemed not to care. Growling. I snapped. You are thinking with your dick. You're the fucking king. Adonis, use your brain. This is the only way. Adonis also seemed to be struggling to control his lichen. Do you want to die? Is that why you are so adamant to leave me? Oh, come on. I am not going to die, because I know you will find me. This is the only way to stop him. I threw my hands up in the air. Adonis looked to his brother, who looked at me and sighed. This novel will be daily updated. Brother, Arya isn't wrong. She is right in thinking that Bradley will slip up when he has her. He will become too cocky, giving us the perfect opportunity to finish him. Adonis didn't seem impressed with that answer. Arya isn't stupid. It is a good plan. Plus, our queen isn't weak. She is a badass, Evan pointed out. I smiled at them both. I knew it was hard to go against Adonis, but they did so. Anyway, Adonis sighed. I need time. That is something we don't have. Adonis, trust me as I trust you, I replied. He opened his mouth but closed it again. Sighing, he walked out of his study and headed downstairs. I don't know why you insist on doing this, but at the same time, it makes me proud of you. My mate, the one who thinks of others before herself. Adonis sighed. He rummaged through a drawer and pulled out a ring. I keep this in the most obvious place because no one dares to move it. It was my mother's. She left it with me, and now I am giving it to you. Adonis slipped it on. I will find you before that bastard touches you, Adonis promised. I know you will. I'll be waiting. I kissed him softly on the lips. He sighed. Let's go kill that bastard. Before we had a chance to head upstairs, a ticking noise caught all our attention. Hey, doesn't that sound like Anya didn't get to finish her sentence as a blast threw us all across the room? Sounds of shattered glass and screams pierced my ears. Disorientated, I tried to stand up and find Adonis, but the force of the blast had really affected me. I fell back down on the ground and groaned. Slowly, I tried again. This time when I managed to stand up, I came face to face with none other than Bradley. He smirked. You took too long to answer. And then it was black. My head felt heavy as I groaned. What the fuck had happened, and why? Couldn't I remember anything? Finally, you're awake. A familiar voice caused me to suddenly open my eyes. Bradley stood there smirking at me. Seeing his face made me realize what the hell happened. The bomb, Bradley coming. Oh God, where was Sophia? I struggled against my restraints, trying to look for Sophia. If this bastard touched her, I would kill him. Bradley noticed me struggling and just laughed. You won't manage to get out of these. Your lichen is weak from that blast. This novel will be daily updated. Bradley looked pleased with himself. But this idiot didn't realize why I was struggling. Where is Sophia? I growled. Oh, you're looking for her. She is back in the arms of her mate, my little brother, Bradley replied. He kept his word. I can't believe that. This man wasn't to be trusted. Ever. I do keep my word. Plus, she was of no use to me anyway. You're the one I really wanted. Bradley shrugged his shoulders. How pathetic that you had to place a bomb to kidnap me. You clearly can't take on Adonis without playing dirty, I scoffed. Bradley growled and was about to lunge at me, but stopped. I am going to kill his mate. I am going to kill him. So I win. I always win. What exactly do you get out of this? No power, no throne, I asked, trying to stall him so Adonis had a chance to find me. I get revenge. Revenge on the man who did this to my face, who passed me off, and gave my little brother more power. The power comes from the satisfaction that I broke Adonis. I broke the king. Bradley looked. You're insane. How could you kidnap your own brother's mate? I shook my head in disbelief. Very easily, because my brother never helped me. He stood there and watched. He was dead to me from the moment he took that position, Bradley growled. All this power has got to your head. You can't even see the bigger picture, and that will be your biggest downfall. You'll realize it too late. I sighed. Huh, you're telling me about my downfall? This novel will be daily updated. You are the one who is tied to this chair and moments from her death. Bradley shook his head at me. Yes, because I can't tell you when I'm dead. I shrugged my shoulders. She's fucking stalling. Just kill her already. A familiar voice had me gasping. Bradley looked at my shocked state and laughed. Bet you didn't expect that, did you? What the actual fuck? What the hell was Savannah doing here? Savannah smirked at me. For the first time, I've made you speechless. What the hell are you doing here? I growled. Savannah rolled her eyes and stood by Bradley, who pulled her close to him. My Eyes darted between them both before the realization settled in. Your mates, I breathed out. Yes, she's mine. Bradley smirked. But what about Adonis and your uncle? I asked Savannah, confused. She laughed and shook her head. I thought you were smart. I have never liked Dimitri, let alone loved. After what he did to my mate, why would I even want to spend time with him voluntarily? So this was all part of your plan? I asked. Bradley looked at Savannah and said, might as well tell her, since she'll be dead before she can tell anyone. Savannah laughed. I met Bradley months ago when I went with my uncle to visit the prisons. Some sort of safety check. I knew he was my mate as soon as we made eye contact. I came back later that night and broke him out. Seeing him in that position was awful. Then he told me what Dimitri did to him, and we planned our revenge. I made my uncle believe that I had a human mate who was dying so he would pose me to mate with Dimitri. The plan was to break him before he mated me. What we didn't account for was him finding his mate. That worked in our favor, but we had to have you believe I was that jealous ex. Otherwise, you'd be suspicious. Meanwhile, Bradley was planning Dimitri's takedown using his own mate. Adonis finding you really helped us. Killing you would kill Adonis, and he would be off that throne. Payback for what he did to me. Bradley smirked. Bradley pulled Savannah closer to him, and they both began making out. How fucking vile. I gagged, but they paid me no attention as they carried on eating each other's faces off. Well, you guys are really made for each other. Sarcasm dripped from my voice. Since deceit is your middle name, this novel will be daily updated at, but I must say this plan you have really is amazing, except for one mistake. Underestimating Adonis, I scoffed, causing them to break apart. What makes you think I am underestimating him? Bradley asked. Well, for starters, you actually believe that you will manage to kill me before he gets here. I don't think you know the power of the mate bond just yet. I raised my eyebrows. Kill her already. Prove her wrong, Savannah snapped. Time to say goodbye to this world. Your Majesty. Bradley stalked toward me. However, a bang stopped him in his tracks. He growled and turned around. Hey! Lycan frantically ran in, not realizing he interrupted Bradley. They found us. He rushed out. Who? Bradley was shaking in anger. Adonis. I answered. Bradley let out a huge growl before snapping the Lycan's neck with no hesitation. The poor Lycan's dead body fell to the ground, and Bradley kicked it in frustration. This man had no respect. How the fuck did he find us? Savannah paced the room. Because the both of you got too cocky, I replied before snapping the restraints that held me. I stood up and threw the chair at Savannah, who ducked just in time. Pity. I will kill you. Bradley stalked toward me. Come on then, I taunted. Bradley lunged at me, but I moved out of the way. He pulled my leg, so I tripped and hit the floor. Fuck. I quickly stood up and kicked Bradley in the balls. He fell back down the ground in pain. Sorry, Adonis. I may not have used your training on this one. Just my instincts. Savannah screeched as she jumped on my back, pulling my hair. This novel will be daily updated, fucking bitch. She's been a thorn in my side ever since I first met my mate. Her time was up. I growled. My Lycan was not happy with this bitch. I elbowed her in the stomach, making her loosen her grip. I used this opportunity to grab her hands and swing her over my head so she hit the floor. She groaned in pain. Damn it, she was still alive. Bradley stood up, growling as his mate screamed in pain. You fucking bitch. He caught me off guard by slapping me around the face, but I wasn't about to let him get away with that. This time I used Adonis's training by punching Bradley right in the face. Take that, you bastard. He barely had any time to recover before I kicked him in the back, causing him to fall forward and hit the floor. A loud growl caused objects to rattle and my hairs to stand on end. That meant only one thing. Adonis was here, and he was pissed. My thoughts were confirmed by him storming in, his eyes pitch black as they looked for something. As soon as those eyes connected with mine, Adonis strode over and picked me up. He breathed my scent in and buried his face into my neck. You're safe. Thank God. He sighed. Well, guess you get to witness me killing your beloved mate. Bradley's voice broke us apart. I think you'll need help with that. Another familiar voice made my blood ran cold. Adonis's hold tightened on me as Gabe stepped out of the shadows with a sinister smile on his face. Gabe, no, I breathed, unable to process the scene in front of me. Oh, I wish I had a camera to record this. Your faces are priceless. Bradley clapped his hands, laughing at our shock. How do you think Arya was drugged? This novel will be daily updated. How did I sneak in without anyone noticing me? Gabe, of course. Savannah was still not as trusted as I had hoped, but luckily Gabe here helped me out. He was the one that drugged your precious mate. Bradley revealed Gabe's betrayal. Adonis looked heartbroken. His best friend betrayed him. I couldn't believe it. Why? He was happy. Or at least I thought he was. What about his own mate? Lexi wasn't a part of this too, was she? I know what you're thinking. Why? I did this because a change was needed. Dimitri was a good king, but things needed to change. I overheard Savannah on the phone to Bradley, and I decided Bradley was the best chance I had to take Dimitri down. Gabe explained. How could you? You betrayed your own best friend. My heart broke for Adonis, who was still silent. Bradley rolled his eyes. Enough chit-chat. You hold Adonis down. I'll kill his mate. Gabe nodded and stalked toward us. Before anything could happen, Adonis laughed. He laughed so much that both men looked at each other in confusion. I looked at Adonis in worry. What the hell had happened to him? I think it's so funny that you truly believe you have the upper hand here, Adonis said once he had calmed down. Bradley looked frustrated. Yes, I do. Look around. No one is here to save you. Your best friend is on my side, and I am going to kill your mate. Adonis growled and pulled me closer to his side. No, you got too cocky, and you never saw the bigger picture. Bradley tried to lunge for me, but Gabe pulled him back and hit him round the head with a pole. What did I just miss? Both Gabe and Adonis nodded at each other before Evan came in with a bunch of other lichens. Did I get hit around the head? What was going on here? You all okay? Evan asked. The men nodded, while I stood there with my mouth hanging open. Gabe and Evan picked up Bradley's unconscious body and moved him away. Adonis better explain what the fuck was going on. This novel will be daily updated. I turned to him for an explanation when I noticed Savannah getting up and getting ready to attack. I growled and lunged at her before she could do anything. I pushed her down on the ground and said, time for you to join your mate. I didn't have a pole or a weapon, so I hit her head against the floor instead. Her limp body was then carried out by some warriors. Adonis looked at me and smirked. She angered you. You try being locked in a room with her, and she taunting you. Stupid girl, I growled. Dimitri, let's go before he wakes up, Evan said. No way. You better explain to me what the fuck just happened, I said. Adonis looked thoughtful before replying. Well, I am pretty sure you just hit Savannah's head on the concrete with no hesitation. I growled, you know what I am talking about. Don't act smart with me. Adonis picked me up and walked out of the door with me. I was unimpressed, but it was clear I wasn't getting my answers here. We sat in the car, and I tried to figure out where we were, but Adonis stopped me. You were kidnapped, hurt, and you can't just sit still or faint in my arms. I'm not like that. So much happened back there. I need to know everything. Plus, I want to know where I am. I sighed. Adonis grabbed my head and smiled. You will, but you have to be patient. I opened my mouth to argue. This novel will be daily updated, however. That didn't happen as Adonis crashed his lips to mine and stuck his tongue straight into my mouth. Holy crap! This was making my legs weak. Adonis could kiss, and very well. When he pulled apart, the bastard had a smirk on his face. Perfect way to get you to shut up. I weakly glared at him, but that just caused him to laugh as he drove away and kept me in suspense.